I want to respect everybody's time. And really what I want to do is to be able to get into, we're all here for the convention. So I want to get us to like leave with some tangibles today. So I wanted to start off with a story because I thought we're putting the fun in fundraising. And so I wanted you to come along on a little journey with me. And it was a ferry probably about 15 years ago. And my girlfriend and I were headed over to Victoria. And we were signed up for the half marathon. And it was our first one ever, and we hadn't really trained. So we were just excited to go and not be the last people through the finish line. And she went up to get a coffee on the ferry. I was sitting there securing our spot, and she was getting coffee and a cinnamon bun, if I'm gonna be honest. And my phone went off. And I picked it up, and it was a unknown number, but I said hello, and all I heard was the gentleman say, "Is this Laurie?" I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "All right, I'm in. We'll talk Monday." Click. And I instantly knew who it was. It was the gentleman that I had just had coffee with on the Friday, offering and seeing if he would be interested in making $1 million contribution. And I went, woohoo! On the ferry, everyone heard it. My girlfriend heard it as she's paying for the Danish. And that to me is an example of what's possible, of the fun that can be on the other side, because I think so much we're at that daunting part of what fundraising is, and not at all with the expectation with our project, are we looking to secure $1 million contribution? But I want to stretch us to what is possible and what we believe we can achieve with it, and then what mindset we're actually bringing to the table to do it. So I kind of summarized 3 steps in what made that $1 million contribution successful. It went on to be duplicatable for me to be able to make those type of asks in the organizations I was in. So I want to put that equation for each of you, that now to do this for the convention, we can replicate it, and whatever amount of money, we talked a little bit about budget of what that's going to be. So the 3 steps was, or is, what our what is and our why, and I'll cover these in depth. It's the who and our belief. And the third one is our momentum. So the first step that we're going to talk about is why did this gentleman say yes? Was I had a compelling enough story to engage him in and let him be part of the journey. We talk about what the value proposition is, that I was able to sit across, I went to his home and sat there and told him and painted the picture of what his contribution would mean for the organization. But I also told him what the why was, why we needed it. And I think that that's something today, I'm hoping that this is just I'm going to talk short about giving you tools, and then we're going to dive into, now let's build out the plan. But what is our why for wanting to do it? And then what is the purpose of why would they want to be part of it? Is the real, what's in it for them to be able to do that? The second part is the who and the belief. I believe my success of raising over $40 million in the trajectory of my career of fundraising is because I always believed in the what. I always had a why. And then I always believed that somebody was passionate, the who, was as equally passionate about it as well. And what's interesting with this is that this requires to do research. We're not going to I wouldn't go ask my neighbor to make $1 million contribution. The capacity may or may not be there until I actually research it. But also, are there values the set? Is there interest in the project that we're doing? So that's what I want to spend some time on today, is let's brainstorm what organizations are rising leaders that our vision statement in Toastmasters matches them. That's going to be, where we could go in and just we have something for you and we know you want to partner with us. Come on, let's go. But then it gets down to the belief of, I know all of us here believe in obviously what it is that we're presenting and getting out there. But the belief is, do we believe other people want to buy in? And that's where my work as a life coach is finding the scarcity model. right? That we dip into, oh, you know, there's a lot of people out there asking for money. There's a lot of other causes out there. It feels icky to ask, right? And it's like, well, what if we weren't asking? What if we were inviting somebody to partner with us? And again, if we figured out the what and the why, they're gonna like, that guy he was in it, $1 million. Let's go. He wanted to be part of it. And so just even that, and I would love to spend some time, especially those of us that are potentially making the ask, what is our thought and belief about it? Because if there's, like, that's where we need to uncover our own limiting beliefs around, do I think that it's icky? Do I think that we shouldn't be asking this? That's going to be transparent in when we do. And I often think in anything we do, language of mine is anything that we show up and present, we're magnets, right? So if I come across as like, oh, you know, I'd hate to talk to you, but like, you know, we're doing this thing, they're going to feel icky about opening their wallet too. But if we're like really excited about it, that is going to breed excitement on the other end. And one of the I would say probably the biggest strengths of my journey of fundraising is I always held the belief that my what and my why that I was sharing, they may not be able or even interested enough today to make the gift, but I'm going to leave them with all of the information because, as Tolson said, we're going to be doing it again next year. And we're going to be doing it, we're not going anywhere. So this is, you need to know of what our organization does and planting that. And if it's today, perfect. If not, one day your leaders are going to want to know about what we do. And one day you're going to want to join us. Like that's the belief that I want to come into. And then the third part I recognize is as I celebrated on my own, I literally was on my own because my girlfriend wasn't even there. And I'm celebrating. And I thought, this wasn't a one-man show. Yes, he called me. But in order for me to get in front of him, it required actually a volunteer to open the door, to make the suggestion that, hey, I know a guy who may be interested in this. And then it required my team and my staff at my office to help me collect all of the data. And it also provided all the team that's providing the services for Canuck Place at the time that was doing all the work. So although I got the thrill of doing woohoo on the ferry, I needed to know and have some sort of process in place that everyone else on my team got excited to. Because that built the momentum. Because when everyone at that team in Abbotsford, it was when I was with Canuck Place Abbotsford, and then we had a Vancouver office, everyone was part of that success. The finance, the nurses, the cooks in the kitchen, everyone was part of that success. Everyone needed to be part of that. So I started just doing these Friday wins of like, look at what we have collectively done. And what I really was cognizant of, yes, $1 million is amazing, but so is the $20 that the kid decided to donate from his money from his birthday party. So we're going to celebrate that too, equally as much. So I would really encourage when we're sitting around the table talking about what we want to raise and how we're going to do it, and I want to start thinking ahead. And when we do, this is how we're celebrating, because that's going to help create the momentum of like, oh, that felt fun, I'm going to go do it again. Even if it was $10, even if it was $20, oh, that felt fun, we're going to go and do it again. Because that's going to create the momentum to continue to do it and reach our goal. So, believe it or not, that is my presentation. Because now I want to go and I want to get into the meat. And I want to get into what resistance do we have to any of this, right? Because if there's resistance, totally fine, but let's get it out of the way so that we can actually get in and create the plan that we're going to get out and do that. So, I'm going to pause for a minute. Talk really fast. I'm in Toastmasters to learn how to talk slower, so see whether that's working or not. But tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. I've got Srini and I've got Samit here, and then I also have some people online. So anybody have any questions, comments? Tell me some resistance that might be coming up.
Let's give the online people.
Online people first. First dibs. Hi, Kathy. Hi. Virginia, yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is great, Laurie. Just, we're always also, we have a time frame, so I thought you might also talk about timelines and tracking and sharing and how that breaks up.
Perfect. And that, I think, is what I want to use this next time together, is let's build out that plan. What does that look like? How much do we need to raise? How long do we have? What are going to be the things? But that won't serve us if we haven't actually all got here, that we're all rowing in the same direction, right? So
Yes.
do I have any resistance to actually what fundraising is? Do I feel icky about it? Do I even think that it's possible? It's interesting. My girlfriend that I walked with, who's a Toastmaster this morning, has to raise $1,500 for a school project that she's doing. And she has such anxiety about it. She's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. Smeets shared what our goal is over here. And I went, it's no different. Nor was it for me for $12 million for Connect Place. But if we think it's going to be hard, it's going to be hard. So I really want us to all collectively go, okay, wait a minute, what are our thoughts about what we're going to talk about for our budget today? So again, for my girlfriend, I said, well, if you think 1,500 is going to be hard, you're going to make it so hard. Like, what if that wasn't true? What if you had actually one parent that said, hey, this is a great project and write me one check? Like, who knows, right? So just being open to that. So Virginia, I love that. And yes, that's going to be part of our plan today. And that's why I wanted to call it a workshop. Like, I want to get on the board and like, what is this? Who is it? And when we talk about here in the who part, Sumeet and I briefly talked about it. The most up-level part we could do, I think, is have coordinated asks. So we need to figure out what our value proposition is. We need to know what the stories are and we all have those individually, right? But then the who, we make the list of who, and sit around the table. Okay, who do we think that is? And then who's the best person that has the relationship to go make that ask? Because people give to people. People could be excited about Toastmasters, but they don't actually have a connection to it. There's going to be something where they have a connection to higher ranked than that. So, I always keep, and that's why we were talking about doing brochures or something like that. I keep all brochures from any events that I go to, because that just means that these are organizations that have the capacity and interest to support publicly and community-wise. So let's start there at least, and who has relationship with them. But then who has the best relationship? And I learned it from a not so good moment, was when I went to go make an ask to a potential donor, and they went, oh, I've already been approached. Do you guys not coordinate your lists? And I'm like, ah. So I turned it and I was like, well, you are so well respected that we're coming at you from all angles, right? And he's like, oh, that's a good one, right? So yeah, I want to spend some time in doing that so that it's a coordinated measure in doing that. So good question. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I am not from this area. I wasn't born, didn't grow up here. Okay. So obviously the first question that comes to my mind is like, how do I decide, or who do I approach at a business, right? If I'm looking for a restaurant to sponsor as like the caterer or something like that, for an example. Yeah. How do I walk into the door? Do I walk into the door and say, I want to see the owner because I want to talk to them about fundraising? Like, how does that start? If I call their Google number, they're going to be like, we're very busy right now. Can't talk. So like, how does that start? Like, that's like the first thing. For
sure.
me,
so we have 1, 2, 3, sorry, Tolston, put you in here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 people here. Imagine if each of us were to write down 10 names of people that we have relationships with, that have businesses. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to restaurants who don't know us. I would start with sort of the inner circle. Would my dentist be interested? Would my physician? Would my massage therapist? Would my bank? Right? Like all of these people that we have relationship with, that then we could share hey, did you know I'm involved in this? And this is why. Mm-hmm. And, oh my gosh, and we've already built the picture of why it would be a really good bridge for them.
I see.
Right? Like doing that. And so, yes, we will, and I have had success doing the applications of online things, but let's use that as gravy. Mm-hmm. Let's use the ones that we have that inner relationship. When you and I talked about the connection with Sabah, we have a relationship with them. She knows that like there's already like that trust there, that this is a viable product that she wants to support. Mm-hmm. So then now how do we make it and move into that? So, and what we even talked about, and it was just so organic the way it came up last night, was we have somebody that's maybe not at that $5,000 or $1,000 level sponsorship. Well, then can we be creative? And that's where it came back to, like, when I was with Connect Place, I don't remember the number, but it would be probably close to $1 million of what we did with children's birthdays. And those were $20 contributions, but there was a lot of them, but it was so accessible to the community. Everybody wants to be part of that. So I love if we're thinking about how could we get organizations in small business that want to build up leaders. You look at and pull all of the clubs that we are in. Who doesn't want to advertise their business in this? Well, let's give them an opportunity. $100, $200, like, what does that look like? And then when we can just start, this is a tool that I use that I'm a bit of a Mary Poppin in my practice, but this is where when we ask ourselves close-ended questions, and then when we can actually ask open and just get curious and be in this space of going, let's just play. Like, who might we want to? Any organization I've worked with always puts down Jimmy Pattison first. Somebody in the room says Jimmy Pattison. I said, that's great. He's philanthropic. That's awesome. Does anybody have a way through his gatekeeper, Maureen? You tell me. Right? Even when I was with the BC Liberal Party, nobody had room in to get in through Maureen. Maureen was his gatekeeper. So it's fine to have all of these aspirations, but who's got the relationship with them? So we'll talk about that today and make that list. So, perfect. Who else? To me. Nope, that's Srini.
Laurie, my question would be, I like this approach. The most important burning question when somebody needs to do that donation would be what's in it for them, right?
Totally.
Which you already told.
Yeah.
So for advertising on a district conference for Toastmasters, what is in it for them? So basically, when you say about a restaurant, what is in it for them if they put their name tag there? Is that, and how can we resonate that more strongly?
Sure.
That is where the value proposition comes as
Yeah.
well, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at Toastmasters, you're trying to build future leaders.
Yeah.
So would our message resonate more with business owners like restaurants, just taking that as an example, or schools where you have people, kids going out to the next part of their life?
Yeah.
I don't know if schools donate. I'm not sure if it is an option. Again, just like Sumit, I'm not from here, so I'm not sure.
But I love the questions because nothing is off limits to be able to do that.
So how can we cater that? And if it is something that we need to do a presentation, and if schools are ready to do that kind of donations, can we as a group and show how we present ourselves and see Toastmasters right in front of them?
Yeah.
And this is what you get if you join Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Moving forward into your career early enough as well.
Yeah.
I think for me, who was a Toastmaster who came very late in my journey, I wish I would have joined 20 years back.
Yeah.
How can we bridge that gap? If that is one part.
Sure.
I'm just brainstorming.
Sure. And it's a beautiful brainstorm. Here, going back to Virginia's, is what does our timeline look like? And in order to get into schools and be making that ask, I'm thinking it's creeping into our deadline for...
Schools will close soon too. Right?
Yeah, right, to be able to do that. And they will have capacity to share our message, but I don't believe with the climate that the schools are under right now financially that they would have the capacity to give. Yeah. But it's a great question. And is that something, leading up to next conference, we bump that back next time to say what's the approach to be able to actually brand this convention, to be able to say you're going to want to be part of it, and building that. So I love that. So it's not off limits. It's just, do we have that runway for this time around? So I think where we could use our time today is, let's talk about what the overall arching revenue target is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what the value proposition is. And then let's brainstorm as to the best way that I've ever done this that gets me excited is, if I've got, and I've done this before, if I had a goal of raising $100,000, I would write down 100 names of who I thought could actually contribute $1,000. And then it ended up that I found 10 that did 10,000. So I called them my 10 by 10s. I'm like, whew, that was fun, right?
Yeah, true.
So, but again, then there's that abundance, rather than just going, oh, we're just going to go to Jimmy Pattison for the one ask. It's like, okay, that's all eggs, all one basket. Let's do that. So and then what I want to do is be able to have each of you leave today really clear with, what are we asking? You already know your stories of why you believe Toastmasters is like, it's a yes, we want to do this. And then you have at least 2 or 3 people on your list of saying, I'll give you the frame. Everybody get their pens out. This is the best frame whatsoever. is, would you consider making a thoughtful contribution to our convention? Right? You could leave it open-ended like that and somebody says, yeah, actually, because you might not know, can they give $100? Can they give $1,000? Right? But you could do that. And then when they say, oh, well, I'm coming in at 500 or 1,000, oh, great, here's our sponsorship level, right? Like, does this appeal to you? You could get this and this, right? Like, you could actually open it that. My sense of the number that we talked about, I'm of the belief, like, it's as good as done. Mm-hmm. It's as good as done, right? Because we have, even amongst, Virginia, how many clubs are in the district that we are?
106.
Okay, seriously, guys. Like, we have so many people to be our ambassadors to say, hey, and again, can you imagine? Like, Jim's already excited. When I was talking, he's like, oh, I want a Shopland Health ad in that. Like, yeah, like I want that in there. Why wouldn't we? To be able to be advertising and promoting our business in front of everybody else that is like-minded. It could be as easy as that.
That's what Jim Patterson.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
I before we move on, I want to clarify what you just said in the end here. What you're saying is we don't craft and offer custom that we can send to different people. What we are telling them is an open-ended question which goes like, would you consider making a thoughtful contribution, donation to this event? And we let them come in, because this is a question I faced. Sure. We were talking about this last night. Somebody is saying, I'm interested.
Okay.
Do I tell them, I know they're not going to come in at $1,000 plus level. Yeah. Do I tell them we have a $100 level, or do I say, tell me what you are thinking, and then we will tell you where we can fit you in our sort of agenda? Or like, how does that, is that what you're saying, or are you saying something else?
No, it's a blend of both. It's a hybrid. We're all familiar with hybrids, because I think I would really encourage us, and you already have a framework as to what you've kind of formulated, and I love it. But if we don't know of my neighbor, like my naturopath, to say, hey, we're doing this thing, would you be interested in contributing or being part of this? And then it could be like, we have all of these different levels.
Okay.
Right? And I love the opportunity. Often people will come like, oh, it's available at $100, I'll slide into the 100. Oh, yeah. Right? When they have the capacity to do more. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm like, that's where I would go. Like I have no hesitations reaching out to Super Safe Gas. I believe they would have the capacity for a $5,000 gift. So I'm not going to tell her we have the 100. Right? Like that's right. Like okay. I'm just going to go there. And then afterwards I'm like, oh, well, what might be a thoughtful contribution if she's like, that's too much. Great. Well, here's our other scales of sponsorship available.
Okay.
Kind of thing,
so
right?
You start with where you think they could come in. And then you say, look, this is where we think you belong in our...
Love that language, right? Because people, and here's the thing, we have learned over the years, we collectively as other fundraisers, that we can insult people by coming and saying, would you give a gift of $100? Yeah. And they're like, do you think that that's all that I'm capable of? And we piss them off and they leave. Mm-hmm. Instead of like, stretch me. Somebody asked me for a $10,000 gift. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you that you think that we're doing that, right? Yes. Like, okay, but here's my $100, right? Right? Like, I'm with you, right? So I love that. I love that language that you just used for that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start with, I'm going to erase this, but somebody remember what all of these were for me. Okay. So the first part is, what is our value proposition? Okay. So why would somebody want to partner with the Toastmasters convention? Right. So
there's no place like Toastmasters.
Okay. Nice. Value. Okay, so this is our why would somebody want to join. And so Virginia said there is nothing else like Toastmasters. Okay, what else?
I believe that the fact that the conference is happening in Langley, and Langley is going to be growing at like exponential rate in the next 10 years.
Okay.
That I feel the location of the conference is really important. That could be a real value proposition for a lot of businesses that are trying to expand into the area.
So giving Langley businesses exposure. Okay, so
exposure to people who have a voice in the community, right? Who are small business owners themselves, who how do I say this nicely?
I put.
Can I add something here too?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So Toastmasters is and this is really important. It's a nonprofit, adult-based educational organization that empowers all individuals of every walk of life the skills they need to reach their life goals. And I think that mixed with Summit's focus on Langley, like all those small business owners, everybody wants to improve their communications.
Yeah.
Everybody. And businesses want their employees to have better communications, right?
Yeah.
So I think a real selling point is that it's not for profit.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive.
Yeah.
And it's based on adult principles. So you can have a life and still learn from Toastmasters. You can not be making much money. You can be making minimum wage.
Yeah.
And learn.
Yeah.
You
So
can achieve goals.
can you just repeat that? Nonprofit, adult-based.
Educational organization.
Thank you.
And that tells me anyway, if I was a giver, I would want that. I would want to hear that the value is that this is not a profitable, not for profit. This is a global group that wants to truly make better, effective communicators. What if 0.5% of all the world was a Toastmaster? I mean, can you imagine? Just apply that to your club in Langley. Like, it would just be remarkable.
I have a question that stems from that specifically, right? When I hear Virginia talk about it, she's a leader in the organization, right? She's promoting the organization, which I do too at my own level. But there is this key difference where one angle is to saying, look what we are doing for we, in this case is Toastmasters, look what we are doing to the world. Don't you want to support that?
Yeah.
The other angle is, look what we can do for you. Don't you want to come in and partner with us?
Yeah.
Where do we fall, given that we only have 2 months?
Yeah.
What is the better approach in sort of figuring out what will be successful in the fundraising effort?
My sense is what's in it for them. So when I'm just drafting, I happen to know somebody, and again, I have no idea if she's going to say yes or no, but it's a comfortable conversation that I'm willing to have with somebody at Super Safe. And my phone call or email is going to be along the lines of, I'm going to pause here for a second, something really of note to mark down. Nobody is ever going to be more excited about what you're offering than you.
Exactly.
Right? So that energy again. So even when I sit down to write an email or make a phone call, I do all my own mindset work first of going, okay, why am I excited to be able to do this?
You believe in your value proposition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it on a Friday afternoon at 4:00 when I'm drained and feeling poopy, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like and I'm very strategic about when I make these calls and my energy is high. And that is read off of an email, that's read in a voicemail, like that. So it's just like, oh my gosh, Kathy, I'm so excited to tell you about something. And she knows Jim and I. I'm like, Jim and I are part of this Toastmasters Club, and we're helping them out with the convention. That's going to bring 150 leaders into Langley. Like, I'm really thinking Super Safe's going to want to be part of this. Right? And like that's my excitement. And if she doesn't know about the Toastmasters, then Virginia, that's where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's an adult-based nonprofit organization that actually you're going to want all of your own leaders to be part of if they aren't already. Right? So and even that you can see if, let's say, they're tapped out and they don't have the money. But what we're doing is we are elevating what Toastmasters is, and the ask is, or the offer, not the ask, the offer is, and did you know you could come in and just join us at a Tuesday night Toastmasters Club? Like, that's amazing. Have all your leaders come. Maybe you're going to want to start one in your own organization. That's a win. that's worth celebrating.
Absolutely.
So
That
it's
is
not going to be on the
true.
balance sheet, but it's a heck yes for what we've actually created.
Yeah.
There are lots of organizations that they have their own Toastmasters
Yes,
group,
yes.
right? I mean, in my own company, used to have one where,
Yeah.
but then it depends on how much of influx of people are there too. But that is a great point.
Yeah.
You know,
So when we get to talking about the people, we have so Jim and I belong to Professional Edge and Langley. There's employees that work together in each of those. Trisha and another gentleman in our other one. You're telling me their organization wouldn't be interested to support an employee-based initiative? Like, there's an ask that we hadn't even thought of. And that doesn't even have to be us. That could just be a Trisha saying, oh my gosh, I've been told by that, we're doing this. Did you want to be part of it? Right? Like that could be an easy way in,
I see.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else on here for the why?
are any of our sponsors allowed to join the conference? Are they coming in, or are they just donating and that's it? Because I'm thinking of networking. To Sumit's point of Langley business exposure to 150,
Nice.
will they have vested interest between them, between the businesses,
Nice.
which could grow their business? And if that is, this is a perfect platform, right? Not sure if that is an option for any of the sponsors. Do they just donate and not show up, or?
I think for our top sponsors, we do want to set up a couple of tables where they can come in and interact. Like TEDx Surrey did that, and we want to do that too.
Nice.
But that obviously can't be for everybody.
Not everybody,
right?
that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, we don't have a gallery of sort of tables where people can come in.
So we
but
are capped. We're capped. at
yes,
that.
we're capped at like how many people. We have to go see the space and then see how much we would have for sponsors. But yes, we would make room for 2 or 3 folks
Platinum
to come set up a
sponsors
table.
like
Yes.
Yes.
And then that's going to be, and maybe that's step 4 over here, is making sure that we, like, what is our sponsorship package? I mean, you've got a framework to it. So I think everybody here, if they're participating in it, they just need clarity of it. What is it? What does it look like? What do they get at this certain level? And I have never had sponsors that, I'm working with a client right now that's doing, you're going to hear about it because I'm going to come recruit all of you for volunteering in her thing. But it's a kids triathlon. And so she's really anxious she's got a sponsor for $25,000, I think, on the conversation happening. And so she's into the granular about, and then a quarter-page ad, and then this and that. And I'm like, I have never had anybody decide that that's the reason I'm doing it. It is on the relationship,
and the belief
yes,
system, yeah.
and this, and then we'll figure that stuff out. And I want to over-deliver and delight.
Yes.
Right? So that would be like, how can we, and maybe it's even an offer like, we're going to come in, our top team of our 4 presenters of speeches are going to come in and do a lunch and learn for your team to show you how effective, like, we can think above and beyond of what dollar brings kind of to it. But I don't want to get stuck in, I've spent so many years of just getting stuck in like, it has to be this and that. I've never had anybody argue saying it shouldn't, like, I didn't get. It's like, right? Like that's not why they're doing it, right?
Right.
Something we maybe to talk about too at this point is when we talk about the cross-pollination, making sure that, that Sumit doesn't go to Kathy or even go to somebody else at Super Save and I'm talking to Kathy, like that just makes us look unprofessional.
Yes.
So doing that, but also, I think I've said this before, is that people give to people with a relationship, right? So that's where we want to start to be able to do that. All right, are we
I'm gonna take a picture of that.
good with this? And we can, and I want you to massage it, and we can do that over on WhatsApp. Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what it's coming out as. But I practice it. Even today, this morning on my walk, I practiced how I was going to do my 3 steps for all of you. Like and we're all in Toastmasters, so we all know, like, it's a 3-minute little thing of what that is. All right. So the next one we wanted to get to is the who. So let's spend some time and I love the diverse network that all of us are going to have. I mean, Sumit, I've got my notes from when you and I met. So what I did is I went to a gala of some sort, and I kept the brochure and I went through and I was like, oh, okay, so who do I know on here that I could make a conversation and whatever. So I'm just going to write some names. So each of you right now, let's just take a minute, put 5 names down. Like, who do you think you have a relationship with that at some point they could make a capacity to make a contribution. And even just think group level, right? Like we've got a realtor in our group that's already raised his hand to say that. Okay, so what else would that look like? So, so the who. And are you okay, Sumit, if we share of like what our goal is that we're looking to do?
Absolutely. This
Okay.
is the group for
Okay,
us.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing is hidden from this group.
Okay, and so can you remind me what you landed on? I've got two numbers. written here.
$25,000 is what we want
Okay.
to shoot for. Yes.
So this is where my brain instantly goes. Between all of us here, that's 25 people giving $1,000.
Right.
Right? Like it could be that easy. And so what is that? We've got how many people? 8. So that's 4 people. Do we know 4 people, 4 businesses that would want exposure? And again, we have different tiers, but I want you to it could be that easy. We could have this as good as done as next week of saying, oh my gosh, what a great problem to have. We got more people than we want. Now what do we do? We're going to have a bigger brochure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But we got the revenue to pay for it. What a great problem to have. Right? And even at that, we talked, so for those of you that might not have been on the WhatsApp last night, this weekend, we were talking about a brochure that actually has ads in it. So maybe at the price point, maybe we do $100, maybe we do $250, different sizes, right? We could totally do that. And let me tell you, when I went to TEDx Surrey, I read every one of them because I thought, I want to support them, right? They're here supporting this. I support this. I want to support them. That's my mindset, right?
Yeah.
Do we also run ads for these sponsors during the conference? Is that something most of these organizations? I know that was not what we wanted, but do they have that as an option?
We will have a TV or a monitor or a
Posting
projected,
ads
yes.
and we call them out as these are our sponsors. Is that something we do as well?
Yeah, for some of them, the MCs will talk about it during the break, and we'll have a short thing where we would, maybe have a few of them talking about a few of them.
Why I was thinking is, if none of these whys resonate with them, they might have another interest to really broadcast their business out there.
Yeah.
Especially the realtors, right?
Yes.
This is so many people joining them, not maybe most of them from Langley.
Yeah.
But that is a huge number of people for them to cater to easily. Okay.
So I'll just give you a quick little, this is how we would do and I know Sumit has been working on this, but let's just even call it tiering of gold, silver, and platinum. Very boring kind of things. But you would then decide here if on gold they're going to have, let's say, stage announcement.
Okay.
Yes. Silver doesn't get that. Right? So this is where we would delineate the difference between if they're going to give 5,000, if they're going to give 2,500, and if they're giving 1,000. So maybe these guys down here just gets the TV scroll of their logo. Everybody gets that.
Gotcha.
Right? So we make it that this is
what we give for each of the sponsors levels, right?
Yeah. But again, don't get caught up with yes, I want you to create this, but this is not why somebody's going to do it.
Right.
I mean, we already have Dave reaching out. He has no idea what he's getting. He just knows he wants to be part of it.
Right.
Because it's already bought it.
Because when I spoke to him, and that was my first time talking to somebody about this, he immediately understood, like you said, that the people who are there could be his clients because he's in a growing area and he wants to put his name out there. It just made sense. He didn't need to know anything else. He needed to know that 150 to 200 people, a lot of it are some sort of in a good state and are coming to this place. They are local. Langley is where he is. It's a growing area and he wants to put his name out there. That's all he needed to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did he want to broadcast that message out there? Was that one of his asks? I know he wanted to be part of it. How did he want to broadcast his message or put his face there?
He just asked me what is the price that we're coming in at, and I told him if you want to be a lead realtor, it's $5,000.
Okay.
If you want to come in at a lower level, we would have a few of the names.
Okay.
You know.
And he did not have any other ask.
He didn't have. Well, I am going to talk to him again. But the idea is the interest that he showed in just with that little information, because it was tailored specifically. Me understanding what he would want to hear, and knowing that we could provide that, just tailoring that information just sort of got the first. That was like if you would have said, I don't know if this is for me, then it's a difficult conversation.
Absolutely. So Dave is a Toastmaster,
Yes.
is it? Okay.
Yes.
So that's also important.
Yes.
So something, and Sumit and I've talked about it, and maybe here, well, this is where the coordination comes in, right, on WhatsApp, to say, these are the people I want to talk to. Because if we're talking to somebody here that's another realtor, this is going to have exclusivity, right? So we're not going to want 5, as much as we want 25 fives, $25,000 contributions. We don't want them all realtors, because that's not fair to them that one realtor gets and so it's like one realtor, one financial institution, one landscaping company,
You
one.
need to then filter out your contacts that way as well, right?
So that's where the coordination
important,
of this club. But I'm not sure everybody's going to have people at this level to go make asks for.
Yeah.
So that's where we just want to move into saying, right? Like, but down here, if even we have, and I said 1,000 here, but if we end up having just even $100 contributions and all they get is the program, we can take as many of those as we want. We can have as many in there because they're all community supporters.
Okay, I have to say something. Toastmasters International has guidelines for what a conference has to be. It has to be a learning and educational piece for the membership. We must remember we have 100 clubs from Cranbrook to Souk, and they are going to have people there, right? We have to realize that the conference is first and foremost for them. Now, there's nothing to stop us from grading an evening event or something for sponsors to come and we give speeches, but the purpose of our conference is to educate and bring our members together. So please be aware of that. We will have an international speaker, a keynote speaker from our international board. He or she is there to monitor what we are actually doing. We will have lots of education sessions from our gifted Toastmasters who will give, that's why we're having classrooms, to break things down.
Nice.
We have, for instance, 2 members, Stefano and Noel, who are going to give a storytelling workshop. We have a recognition piece. We want to celebrate our members. The whole theme is celebrating 100. So we're looking back at how amazing Toastmasters is and looking forward to what we want it to be. So these are sessions that involve our members. So I understand, and don't get me wrong, I may be off track, but I understand that you want to bring and give your businesses, your local businesses, an opportunity to shine, to get something from this. But please bear in mind that the conference is always, no matter what kind of conference you give, the conference is for its members, right? To motivate, to inspire, to bring us together. So I just need you to realize that.
That's a great point, Virginia. Yeah, we can't forget in the enthusiasm of fundraising, we can't forget what we are actually doing. But what I think we could potentially do is give some of these sponsors an opportunity in form of a couple of tickets to actually come and see what Toastmasters
that is important. That's what I was coming to, basically.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
All right, so we've gone through value proposition. We've gone through, each of you have a few names that you've put down that we could get started with. We have, and maybe that's, Sumit, when this is finalized, we could share that with the group as to what that looks like. I think the one thing out of the gate that we need to kind of earmark as priority back to Virginia's timeline would be the sponsorship package, knowing at what levels recognition people would come in at. Kathy, I'm just gonna offer you a thought that even just the belief that we're asking people for something, we're making an offer that it makes sense that the people want to partner with us. We never want ever to have that thought that we're asking to take something. And I think that that's why I really wanted to have this session, was That's not what my belief fundraising is about. We have a story, we have a product that is worth shouting from the rooftops. And we need to shout it from the rooftops, and that knowing and believing that there's people out there, either on their own or own businesses, that they get excited by hearing about it and they're like, yes, I want to come join you to do that. Those are the people we're attracting. If it does not land on people, I'm not...
Yeah, that's not the...
They're not, that's totally fine. Like, none of my organizations that I've worked for have my siblings ever supported. They weren't the people I went to. Right? I went to people that it made sense that this
know
is...
your audience.
Yes. And then come along, and that it makes sense for them to want to partner with us.
My question was, any of these sponsors, do they get tax benefits from the sponsorship? Is that something?
I think Virginia would know.
Because
Virginia's
that is
saying no.
important, right? Some of them do ask for that. Like, when you sponsor, I don't know if it's a sponsorship or...
No, we're not illegal, or we are not a legal entity.
And that's helpful to know, right?
Okay, so no tax benefits, like no write-offs and all that.
Right.
Okay.
But they could, in essence, for our own business, for Shopland Coaching, we would just put it towards our marketing expense.
Marketing expenses.
Right?
Okay.
So, that's how
Yes,
people would
thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you for that.
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do we provide them with? A district receipts for the contribution, just in case if you want to put it under expenses? Is that as part of a business organization?
Yeah, I would think that if Shopland Coaching is going to write you a check or do something like that, that there would be something that I could then go and hand off to my accountant at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. But that's great. Like, that's the follow through on it. And then as we move along, so back to Virginia's part of the runway. So I want to just spend the last 2 minutes just on runway of what are the priorities coming out of the gate today, right? Because in order to make decisions about expenditures moving forward, we really want to have that base coverage of, let's call it 10,000, 15,000, like as good as done as soon as we can. So when you're even looking at your list, I would prioritize them that way. To, like, in the top of my head for here, I had Super Save, I had Frybe, and I have RBC. So those are three that I feel I have connections with that, and I believe would be at the higher levels. So I would say, so I'm going to wait for, so the first priority is Sumit's going to provide us with what does that framework look like. Then I would
Framework for
the
amount.
sponsorship package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
anything under that is also accepted, kind of. That's my understanding.
Oh, completely.
Right? The amount,
Yeah.
like if they really resonate, but this is only what they can contribute, we accept it.
Yeah.
And that's where I would like to show, like, and I think we talked about it, that the 5,000, the 2,500, the 1,000, and then whatever.
There's a catch-all after
Yes.
that, which is basically,
Yeah.
different kinds. We have to figure out, because it will depend on space and equipment and this and that and
Right.
time.
Okay.
So there'll be a catch-all after that. So
Yeah.
And-
So when we talk about for priority, so the first one coming out of the gate is receiving that from Sumit to be able to do that. But your homework, each of our homework, is to continue working on that list. Because remember, get into the space, go for a walk, and just go, who might actually be really excited to partner with Toastmasters? Yes, Virginia.
Also, an untapped, which we do, and we have done every year, realizing that we haven't had a conference for 4 years, but we used to have conferences, and I was involved, and we do have, examples of sponsorship levels. And I know that Nabila was saying that yes, 5,000 might be too much, but that's negotiable. But what we did, and building on what you're saying, Laurie, is we went to our membership and said the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a company? Would you like to promote yourself in our program? It will cost $100.
Yeah.
And we got several $1,000s.
True.
Yeah.
Just because 20 people. 20.
Yeah.
And we even offered clubs to promote themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And they got program space, and we even had an opportunity to, like a speaker's pedestal, like a speaker in the park where you could stand up and push your club for a minute. So we got our members in clubs also involved at a lower level.
Yep.
I'm not saying this is high level,
Yep.
but it made them feel as well that they were participating. And some do have businesses. There's authors. There's coaches.
Yeah.
How many communication coaches do we have? who want some exposure.
Sure.
Right? So I would offer that our clubs, and I'm willing to help out on that score, that our clubs internally could also participate.
Absolutely. I think that is like our warmest leads, right? Because you've got people that know and really know it. I guess where my brain goes for the 5,000 is again to Sumit's Langley, the three companies, well, two of them, anyhow. Super Save is a Langley-based family-owned company that I just, like that to me, as soon as I thought Toastmasters, they have leaders, that's an ask that I want to make. Well, I know their capacity is to be able to do that. So, and then Frybe, again, is a local Vancouver, Langley-based global organization. So again, whether they say yes or no, but I just think I'm not going to insult them to come in at $100.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay,
Exactly.
do you want to know and have your logo everywhere? That's kind of where I'm coming from.
I
But
was just responding to Nabila, who said our target audience is small businesses and we should have multiple smaller packages.
Yes,
So it's-
we do that. The 5, 2,500 and 1,000 is a framework that we're starting with, but in addition to that, there is a catch-all after that, which would depend on how much, and it will be an open-ended thing, but we have to say, if you do what we think you are capable of doing, which is say $5,000, this is what we will do for you. And then obviously we'll figure out, exactly based on space and whether we can print brochures or not on what we can do with it. But happy to take contributions from whoever wants to sort of, stand out there in front of these 150, 200 people. And we will, like Laurie was saying earlier, do our best to provide a lot and delight them. Is there something online?
yeah, so Nabila is just asking, what if you can't find, that's totally fine, Nabila, then the $100 ones, like whatever level Sumit's coming up with, we're going to have that level. We just started that conversation literally yesterday. So stay tuned on that. When he presents everything, we'll have all of that. And when I first started, when I was with the Canadian Cancer Society, I didn't know anybody at this level at all. But the community level, and that's what I would really encourage that be titled, is I went out and for the Canadian Cancer Society, got a whole bunch of community builders over here, and it was amazing. So if that's where your strong suit is, fantastic. But just knowing the whole framework of it, there's people out there that want to give that. Well, why not at least approach them and bring in those organizations? Because I just also think Langley-based organizations need to know that Toastmasters is in their back corner.
Yeah.
Like we can be a resource for them and they could have their own club. And imagine Langley as to Virginia's like globally, right? Frybe they just went to Hong Kong. Like they've just expanded. Like I'm really excited to have that conversation with Angela, the president. Like, okay.
And here's another thing with Nabila is that we could offer for the top sponsors, we could offer a table.
Yeah.
Like 8 places or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, we'll definitely figure it out. But I really love that community level. That name is I was struggling to come up with the right, but that's perfect. Yeah. I want to be cognizant of your time. We're over time already.
What is the timeline? When do we need to get this done by? Because I think April 21 is the conference, right?
Yeah.
So when do we need to get this all?
April 27th is the,
27th,
but even when you think of backing up for programs and even knowing what expenses we can incur because we know we have assured the money's in, what would be for yourself like a breathe easy to know that we've reached our target of 25,000?
By April 1st.
April 1st.
Yeah. If we haven't reached that by April 1st, we're going to have to
sharpen the pencils. Okay.
And one last question would be, giving a sponsorship, whatever that amount be, I mean, apart from the bigger ones, doesn't guarantee them an entry into the conference, right?
Correct. Well, and that's what
Again,
Sumit's
I'm not
going to
trying
be.
to be myopic, but maybe that's a question that can come up. Okay, I'm contributing whatever it is, but can I come and see what this is about?
It's going to be
only limited to this.
We're going to have it really clear here as to what is involved in this. So in here would be seats or a table, to Virginia's point, like what are they getting here? It's going to be clear everybody's on the same page, and stipulating if we have anybody at this level that we just funnel it through Sumit saying, hey, I think I have somebody that might be interested in the $5,000 because we know we want this to be exclusive. I'm not going to go to RBC and First West and offer them both and have two competing organizations in that front spot. That I've learned by mistake. It's not
And
very,
that was a question that Dave also asked the realtor. He was like,
Yeah.
am I going to be exclusive
Yeah.
if I come in at the
then-
highest
and
level?
because
he's
It's really
here.
important to these people.
Yeah.
They're the only name in the column.
So that is going to be the tough part, because when you write down names, I would have 3 realtors, you would have 3. So
But that's fine. But if we know
on the gold sponsorship, right?
over here we can have as many because they know this is open.
Yeah.
Right? They're not offered exclusivity here. That's
So
totally
when do we say that, okay, we have this much in gold?
Yeah.
Now anybody in that same category, like for example, realtors.
Yeah.
Like Sumit would say, okay, we cannot have more than 2 realtors here, right?
So I'm
would
going to
that
say
be-
we funnel all of our anything sort of in this platform here that we just notify
And then he takes
Sumit,
a
and then
call.
he just knows going, oh, I know Laurie's going out to do this, so let's just coordinate it, and Sumit's going to be our
before even we approach our
gatekeeper.
contacts,
I would.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is still your relation. You're the
Yeah.
one building the relationship.
Yeah.
I am just need to know that we are already talking
How
to our real
exclusive we
estate.
can be,
Yes.
we are.
Right.
Yeah.
So we not all of us are talking.
Because
to
they
real
are
estate
one of the biggest sponsors in any of these events
Yes.
that come up, right? Realtors,
Yeah.
they would like to, and with the sheer amount of realtors that is there,
Mm-hmm.
we want to know, and they work with realty groups as well, not
Yeah.
just one person.
Yeah. So those
maybe
two
this-
groups are definitely our key targets.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any
This is
last
good.
minute ahas or questions? Raise your hand because I know there's lots of chat there, but just raise your hand and anything there? Nabilia, thumbs up. Frank, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yep, you're on mute there. I was going to retype, but I think there should be more of a focus on who would benefit the most for being a sponsor. So such as if there's Toastmasters groups from Cranbrook to Soup coming in, 100 plus, hotels, motels,
Nice.
they're going to need lodging. So, and you said earlier, guest speaker, is people who have speech coaching businesses or life skills coaches, they're going to want to advertise. They're like-minded. They're going to want to advertise there. So I think there should be a focus there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, that's just helping everybody because now our brain is going to work on who do I know? What hotels can I talk to? Right. But again, relationship first, because Best Western's going to get 100 requests a week of sports teams that are coming in and everything else. So unless we have a relationship and really a compelling why, so I would start off, make it the list and then pull it out there going, anybody? Oh, I know somebody that works there. Or I know, like, that's going to be our in to be able to make it, I believe, elevate our asks. Just from a fundraising point of view, right now, I was telling Smeet, I think right now I'm fundraising coaching, which is not, it's not what I do any longer, but I think I've got 10 clients right now that are just asking me to help with fundraising. So there's a lot of asks out there, and I'm telling them the same thing. It's got to be on the relationships of them, right? Like it's got to be your relationships. They're not going to give to me if I don't have the relationship with them. So to that point, building that out, and then even just messaging us as a group, hey, this is the thought I've had. Anybody, like I hadn't even thought of hotels. I think that's brilliant. So now my wheels are churning. So brilliant. Keep those coming in the chat box.
Perfect.
All right, gentlemen, any questions to you?
I just want to thank you for your time. This has been great, so educational and amazing. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Okay,
Yes.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Laurie.
This has been super fun, and thank you for filming everything else.